What are things public schools should be teaching but aren't? As a former high school math teacher, I would really like to see statistics take over the current place of trig and calculus. Very few people will benefit from a trig and calculus course, but every human being on Earth could benefit greatly from understanding basic statistics. When human beings encounter conflicting opinions, it is science we turn to, or at least should turn to. And statistics is the great arbiter of science. Personal finance, how to manage your money. Sex ed. And not just about STDs but about personal hygiene, what to expect when you get your period, self-care, etc. I think they should teach more about relationships. What makes a healthy relationship, what behaviors are unhealthy in relationships, how to identify red flags, what gaslighting is, etc. A lot of people don't have a great frame of reference for what healthy relationships look like and how to create and maintain them. I think it could be really useful to help people develop that life skill when they're young. Basic life skills, creating a personal budget, paying bills, applying for and maintaining credit, etc. Psychology. Even if you miss something else, basic knowledge of how people function gives you an enormous asset in figuring out how to get information and how to work with other people. We're a group animal, we're going to communicate with each other. How to find your passions in life so you aren't so lost when you graduate. Critical and logical thinking skills. Simply how to behave professionally, does that make sense? How to dress business casual, telephone etiquette, email etiquette, basic etiquette. Any and all things you would need to know to go to an interview and get a good job, and then do well in that position. It goes way beyond your typical customer service jobs. Any office job or position working with other people, you're gonna make it way further if you just know how to carry yourself and put off a vibe of professional confidence. Taxes. Cooking. The high schools in my area stopping teaching homey about 5 to 8 years ago. Law. It's sad to see how many people don't know their rights when it comes to a lot of things. They used to teach laws in US schools but they stopped implementing it. Nowadays people don't know when the system or someone else is stepping on them. I had my co-worker recently say it was mandatory to join their HOA, it's illegal to force someone to join an HOA. My husband often looks up laws out of boredom and learned a lot about what people over you can and can't do. Baby logic, or what gets covered in a Phil 1250. I've been told that research shows that students can understand propositional logic at age 12, which is what Phil 1250 covers along with categorical logic and informal reasoning. We have students from at least grade 6 writing persuasion papers, but without understanding the mechanics behind argumentation. We can teach kids this without having to go into first-order symbolic logic, and if middle school is too early, then by the time students are capable of learning algebra to 10th or 11th grade, this should certainly be taught. This would be more valuable than a 4th year of English literature, if we had to make a trade-off, and baby logic could be integrated into a wider ethics or political philosophy class, but it could also be the ground of a non-fiction writing class, and more useful than the 9th grade grammar that is often taught, which basically everyone forgets, since grammatical knowledge is primarily intuitive not declarative anyway. Lots of things. But if I had to pick only one, sex ed. Like real sex ed. This is how your body works, this is what happens when you get an erection, let's talk about the menstrual cycle, here is what a healthy sexual relationship looks like, this is how pregnancy actually happens, this is how to properly use birth control, here are resources you can utilize in the community if need be, etc. Not this abstinence BS and not scaring kids into thinking that pulling down your pants within a 100 feet radius of the opposite sex will lead to pregnancy or contracting an STD. I feel that everyone has a right to understand how their body works in all its functions and how to pursue resources if chosen to do so. That means debunking myths, removing stigma of talking about it, and providing clear information in a setting where all questions and concerns are acceptable to discuss, whether that be in a classroom setting or privately after class with a trusted, knowledgeable adult. How to mind your fucking business. Since my top choice was already posted, personal finance, I will go with my very close second. #PLAY. At the elementary level very least. We expect kindergartners to read chapter books by the end of the year, but in the process, they have forgotten how to share, problem solve, imagine, and collaborate. Then we sit and wring our hands when they get to 4th grade because these kids are always acting up on the playground and don't know how to play. And surprise, they also don't know how to read either. Mental health. I genuinely think that they should have a certain grade in high school in which, let's say the juniors, instead of going to homeroom for a half period before or after lunch, work the service areas of the cafeteria. This would give them experience working a job in which they have individual responsibilities in a team and be humbling in the sense that they would experience how the faculty, staff of their high school are treated. It would be a lesson in empathy as much as a lesson in work ethic. Ethics. Self-defense. First aid and CPR. Sex education, gun safety. Economics. Every time I signed up for it as an elective in high school, too few signed up and the school didn't want a class with only 10 people in it. I would have rather had the class in high school with only 10 classmates so I could have better understood it when I took econ classes in college. How to vote, and that in Australia we do not vote for the Prime Minister. Foreign language should be a requirement much earlier in a kid's schooling. I know many public high schools require at least 2 foreign language credits. I don't know if this is statewide or nationwide or a district-by-district thing, but public schools in general should have kids learning foreign languages around the ages of 7 and 8. Ability to learn a new language decreases after the age of 10, and ability to become fluent regresses even more beyond that. Beginning foreign language education early would also allow schools to reinforce that knowledge throughout elementary, middle, and high school, rather than learning a bit in high school and likely not picking it up again in any significant way. For every suggestion, what would you take out in order to make room for the new content? We can't just keep adding things for teachers to teach without removing something. So what would you like to give up? I'm not saying everything taught now is useful, but there has to be a trade-off. Networking. A lot of people are saying critical thinking. But guess what? That is what math is. Improving mathematical skills equals improving critical thinking. Honesty, morality, conflict resolution. How to interact with other human beings in a harmonious manner, critical thinking, empathy. Meditation so you can properly manage thoughts and feelings. You think this is taught at home, you are wrong. Most people are left to figure this stuff out on their own. Many never do, and our society suffers as a result. A class of common sense and things that no one talks about but is expected, like the bus seat rule. I will actually throw fists if someone sits in the seat with me when there are plenty of other empty seats. Shit ton of people who love buying shit they can't afford and blaming high school for not teaching them finance. Newsflash, you can't afford your $1,200 phone, but it's the school for not telling you. Question everything and think critically. Tire changes, oil changes. Leases, loans, taxes, dealing with fraudulent charges on your bank statement, credit card pitfalls, home budgeting, etc. Also needs to include interacting with local governments, how to handle a parking or speeding ticket, what it's like to go to court, your basic rights as a defendant, how jury duty works and why it is important, how to handle a property appraisal or zoning variance, etc. All the standard consumer math is relegated to classes for slow kids, while the advanced kids are taking app calculus so they can be preyed upon by free t-shirt if you sign up for our credit card promotions at college football games. Government classes just teach theory about the Constitution and Bill of Rights, not many practical applications for students in the real world when they're trying to figure out how to pay the water bill and the local government only accepts cash or certified funds for past due accounts. How not to be offended by every fucking thing that you disagree with. How to properly act in a job interview. One of my friends was perfectly qualified for a job, but they didn't hire her because she didn't make enough eye contact. Meditation. How to get a mortgage or do my taxes. I don't need to know the Great Fire of London was in 1666 now. Instead of knowing how to do taxes and mortgages and shit, I know the news headline in London 300 fucking years ago. Civics. Get off your phone while driving, morons. Self-defense social skills including how to deal with wanting to commit suicide. I wanted to kill myself because of school, also what and how to pay taxes, and how to buy a house and start a business. Thanks for watching. What would be your response? Leave it in the comments and see what the others say. Please also like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.